think that he will also be able to lead us matching countries like the US, boot for boot, Russia same. And why do I say that? I mean, if you remember, not too long ago, and I want to give some credit to Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa also as foreign minister. He's done a sterling job in the short time that he's been foreign minister. If you look at what the senator tried to do, the American senator tried to do. If you look at even Trump, the boisterous nature that he tried to use to muscle, Ghana, he's had to make U-turns. Some compromises have also been made. It's not everyone that I agree with. The extraditions, for example, I think that having extradited about 9 Ghanaians, the very least they can do is to give us back our Ken. And it should not be on monetary terms. In any case, those Akroma boys and so on, the kinds of money that they separated out of America thanks to the romance fraud and the vehicle, laundry. Gabby has that vehicle thing hanging. I don't know whether he's one of the people.
Which
vehicle? Those stolen vehicles thing. Canada, US. Anyway, I'm sure we'll Google that after and I'll bring that to clarity. But, you see, he stood up to Israel most recently. And I think that, the relations between Ghana and Israel vis-a-vis the Palestinian issue, okay, for me, scores some very high marks. I think that we can have allies, but we should stand for the things we believe in. The two-state solution, if we do believe in that, should not push us to the point where we are aligning so much with Israel when we can see clearly what they are doing in Gaza, what they are doing to the Palestinians and so on, the human rights violations, the genocide. I mean, we must call a spade a spade. And I think that Mahama and Okudzeto on this one have scored very high marks. And I want to see President Mahama at the head of Africa pushing the continent with all the support, the unanimity that he's getting from ECOWAS. If we can get that unanimity in Africa, and we move with a singular thought, with one vision, my goodness, Africa will be it. We have all the resources, we have the human resource, and with AFTA and others in place, God, Ghana will also be a happy place because we will be at the center of it all. That is Nkrumah's dream, to have Ghana as the gateway with the Black Star experience and all these other things going on. We would benefit immensely. So those who think that our president is being taken away from us or his focus is going to shift, like some people felt when Nkrumah was doing, and that led to the 66 coup and all that. This time round, the foundation is set and eagle eyes are watching. No one will derail the process and will be the better for it.
It really stood up, when it comes to taking bold decisions, as enumerated by Prince here. He's taken a lot of, tough decisions. You look at the speech he delivered at the General Assembly, at the United Nations General Assembly, where he stood up, spoke as a true African, in fact, like a second Nkrumah. It brings you to mind about certain calls that have gone on looking at the rise of insurgency on the continent, talking about the insecurity that is now, sweeping across every part of Africa, the coups and everything. If you look at his responses, his demeanor, his, composure towards these issues, are we in the right place?
Right, thank you, David, and good morning to your listeners out there and viewers, of course. Well, I think if we look right from the inauguration of President John Mahama, I think it was quite obvious that he was looking far and wide, and that might have accounted for some of the precedents that actually graced the inauguration of his coming back into office. And I think that that actually spoke volumes of the kind of person he is and what he stood for, or indeed what he stands for. And so it shouldn't be, be surprising that we have such a position taken by the sub-regional body ECOWAS, that he is going to be the sole candidate of the region when it comes to its term to chair or lead the African Union. So by virtue of how the president seems to have spread his hands wide, inviting all within Africa to grace that occasion of his office, definitely it was quite welcoming. Now, Firstly, let's admit the fact that there's this rotational arrangement within the regional body, AU, that we have 5, bodies, ECOWAS being one. We have SADC in Southern Africa. We have the Eastern region. We have the Central, and then we have the Maghreb on top, where we have the likes of Egypt, Tunisia. So these are the 5 regional bodies. So they try to rotate when it comes to the chairmanship of AU.
It's annually, right?
Yeah. So this, but sometimes they can extend. Yeah. So now this time around, it's going to be for West Africa.
Okay.
Now, what is unique about it is that the entire, body, ECOWAS as a body, have decided just to place their support on one individual to lead the process. So that also tells us there's something unique about the situation. Of course, we know currently West Africa is not standing on good grounds, and President Mahama seems to have been somebody who has put himself in a position to be able to relate to everybody. Firstly, we have the issue of the Sahel countries, particularly the 3 countries that are trying to form another union within ECOWAS. That is Mali, Niger, and Burkina, right? Somehow, he seems to have a very good relationship with all these 3. So within ECOWAS, he seems to be like a figurehead who can actually, find a way by which ECOWAS will patch some of its differences. But there's considerable mistrust between these 3 countries and ECOWAS as we talk. But somehow, you can see that during his inauguration, he was able to invite all this. 2, he has even appointed Colonel Bivulati to serve as a link with. So somehow he has a relationship with these countries, despite the differences they have with ECOWAS. And one of his positions is that, irrespective of whatever differences exist today, let's try to maintain certain links. One which he emphasized was communication. The other he emphasized was trade. That yes, we know you have certain difficulties as far as the regional body is concerned, and then in yet another vein, as far as your relationship with your former colonial master is concerned. So somehow these are the areas of mistrust as far as these 3 countries are concerned, and President Mahama has found a way to at least build some kind of trust, so that even as they try to pull themselves off of ECOWAS, he emphasizes the need to maintain certain communication links, to maintain certain trade links, so that at least maybe at a later time, when conditions are better, it might be possible for them to come back. But as things stands now, it is a bit tough, and those 3 are just pulling away from ECOWAS. So that's number 1. Of course, recently we've had the issue of coup d'etat in Guinea-Bissau, attempted, or the failed one in Benin. So somehow, I think he's played some role in order to ensure that all these are, addressed. But all put together, one thing that is clear is that ECOWAS has put forward a unified position as far as choosing or selecting somebody to go and chair the union, to go and chair the AU is concerned, whenever it's due. So we might credit them, I might credit the ECOWAS for that. Beyond ECOWAS, we look at African Union as a whole. Again, there is so much on the table as far as AU is concerned. We've all been crying the need for them to do more as far as governance issues are concerned. We know of cases, for example, the Francophone countries. People have tempered with the constitutions, and they are in office for only God knows when. The likes of Togo, Cameroon, Uganda, the list is still quite, Cote d'Ivoire, the list is quite long. How are we going to actually fine-tune things in order to put a halt to all these situations? It's something that AU will have to address. Of course, the issue of development is still confronting us. The youth bulge and unemployment is still very much on the table. What is what is AU doing in order to ensure that Africa addresses the issue of unemployment? Again, even divisions within AU itself. If you take the case of the Congo, for example, DRC, you know, what's happening between DRC and Rwanda as far as the M3, you know, rebels are concerned. I believe all these are matters that AU will need to address. But if we are talking of the need to have a unified continent that we can trade with each other, that we can rely on each other for all kinds of assistance, and so on and so forth, there's a need to fine-tune how we relate to each other, and to fine-tune our governance systems in order to ensure that we meet the aspirations of the ordinary people. DRC, for example, is an eyesore to the continent. That to the extent that Rwanda plays a significant role in whatever instability that DRC is going through. No matter how you look at it, M3 cannot exist on its own. Definitely, it is getting support from external sources. And that is Rwanda, even though Rwanda will continue to deny. The situation in Burundi is nothing different. Again, so if we put all this together, AU has a lot to do. So we can only pray that with the kind of trust that ECOWAS is placing on our president, how will he be able to address all this situation in order that we have a unified Africa that will prosecute development to aid Africans in order that as we move forward, we can also be, counted as a community of nations. Otherwise, there are too many problems that are confronting, AU, that if we don't sit up, our voices will not be counted. You can imagine sometimes when they are we have what we call China-Africa relations. We have EU-Africa relations. We have France-Africa relations. I mean, a situation of even Japan-Africa relation. Okay? That one, okay? Just one country is able to ask for 54 or 55 countries to come together and have, instead of having a unified, continent that will bargain on behalf of all of us. But it's like we go scattered, and then we end up negotiating individually. That weakens the African position. So we can only hope that our president, if it's time for him to actually be given the mantle, some of these issues can be addressed. So in the nearest future, we'll fine-tune all this in order to benefit Africa as a continent. I think that's what I will say for now. But it's a credit to us that ECOWAS has put its weight behind our president as the sole candidate when it's time to lead the AU. Thank you.
Based on competence.
Yes, I think the selection or the endorsement by ECOWAS of President John Dramani Mahama demonstrates his commitment to the principles well established by Osajifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He has lived his life noting the opportunities and the challenges facing Ghana, and for that matter, facing Africa. And if he is selected, he is going to, automatically he is on the line of becoming the AU chairman. Now, we would ask ourselves, what was the purpose for establishing the African Union? The purpose was to make sure that the dreams of our founding fathers, the dreams of political unity, the dreams of economic unity, the dreams of solidarity among the African people for the progress of Africa, that we are able to achieve it and live it. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has demonstrated that he's a visionary. He sees Africa becoming united for our own growth and prosperity. And it is this that the ECOWAS states have seen in him and have unanimously agreed that come 2027 he would lead the organization. And the demonstration is within his first year of governance in Ghana, we have seen a government that has demonstrated good governance, that has demonstrated respect for human rights, that has demonstrated providing opportunity for everybody to maximize his potential. And the African countries, and for that matter, the West African states, are not blind to the good things that is happening to Ghana. They are not blind to the diplomatic skills that His Excellency has demonstrated in his interactions with the UN, in his interaction with ECOWAS, his interaction with the AU itself. And so for me, we are happy that we have a president who wants to promote peace, security, and stability within Ghana and within West Africa, and for that matter, within Africa. And this goes a long way to demonstrate the fact that he is true and true an Nkrumahist, somebody who believes in the principles that Osagyefo tried to implement in Ghana and make us a beacon of hope and prosperity for the African continent. Now, strong leadership is very, very important if we have to make if we have to go forward and create a conducive environment for all of us. Human beings by nature, Ghana is going to once again shine, become the beacon of hope,